Hello, and welcome to today's Opt to Thrive Manage Your Mind Mindful Moment.
Welcome to Opt to Thrive, your go-to podcast for women's wellness in midlife, designed to educate, support, and inspire you to live your very best life. And now your host, Dr. Karina Sims.
So today's Thanksgiving in the US, so happy Thanksgiving to all of you celebrating today. Now, leading up to Thanksgiving, it got me thinking about gratitude and happiness. And that led me to next week's episode of Opt to Thrive, where I talk about 10 principles I wholeheartedly believe in that can increase happiness in a person's life. Now, I know I've said this probably a few times already, if not directly on the podcast, definitely to myself after I finished recording an episode, but this next one is one of my favorites. It really reminds me of watching my kids grow up. I would get to this next stage in their development and I would think, no, this is my favorite. No. And then I get to the next one. Oh, no, this is my favorite. I just got so much joy out of watching them grow, not just physically, but into the beautiful humans that they are today. And even that fits with what I'm going to be talking about today on this week's Mindful Moment. If you've listened to some of the previous podcasts, you'd remember one of my BFFs from med school, Suzanne, and she's the person I did the very first job sharing internship in Australia with. And recently, we've started working together again. Well, I wouldn't really call it work. I'm really loving what I'm doing. So Suzanne is the co-founder of Fit Physician Coaching. They also have a podcast, by the way, and it is brilliant. So you might want to check it out. There's some really good information on there. Suzanne does nutrition coaching for busy women physicians, helping them reach their fitness and their body composition goals. And given that we share the same evidence-based philosophy around nutrition and fitness, she's invited me to lead some of the coaching sessions and give her a hand. Now, if there was one good thing that came out of COVID, it was that it made working anywhere in the world from your own home possible. So right here in the sunroom, I get to work in Canada and America, which is just awesome. And these women are amazing. They're all just so motivated to meet their goals. It's really rewarding working with them. And as a bonus, once a week, I get to catch up with Suzanne. I have to be the absolute worst phone person in the world. I hate talking on the phone. So over the years, Suzanne and I have pretty much mainly kept in touch by kind of social media. And then when we do see each other in person, it's of course like time and distance just fade away. So it really is such a treat now to be able to have regular contact with Suzanne and regular connection with her. I'm really enjoying it. So with these new opportunities, I've been reflecting on what a great place that I am in my life right now. And really, it's a result of all of the things I talk about in the next episode. But ultimately, almost all of those things can be traced back to one key element, and that is values. A few years ago now, I read the book Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. Brené's a researcher, speaker, and author, amongst, many other things. And in this book, one of the things that she talks about is values. And quoting Brené, how living into our values means that we do more than profess our values, we practice them. We walk our walk. We are clear about what we believe and hold important, and we take care that our intentions, words, thoughts, and behaviors align with those beliefs. Brené challenges us to have a really good think about what our values are, and she offers us this super long list of values to choose from, and she even invites you to add some to the list if they're not there, and then she gets you to do what may seem like an impossible task and narrow them down to your top 2. Now, at first, it does seem really quite daunting. I could easily pick a dozen things on and off that list that I truly value, but the more I thought and the more I considered it, the more I realized one value could easily be attributed to another. So for instance, I really value motivating, inspiring, empowering, and encouraging others to be at their best, to be their best. But then I realized I value all of these things for the same reason. I value them because I value growth. Theirs, yours, mine. I just think growth is incredibly important. And to me, growth is happiness. Continuing to grow, trying to grow beyond our wildest expectations. I find so much joy and happiness in growing. I also value creativity, and I could see how in order to grow, one often has to be creative. So ultimately, growth had to be one of my top core values. And then back to the example of watching my kids grow up and watching them grow, that fits right into those values. This process of defining our values really does teach us a lot about ourselves. And when we know what our values are, we can more easily see why there are areas in our lives where we don't feel so good. Because most often, in those areas, we're not living in alignment with our values. Being very clear about what your values are makes it so much easier to have your own back. Stop second guessing yourself. And it makes decision making so much easier. Does it fit within my values? Great, let's do it. No? Forget about it. I'm at this stage in my life right now where I'm doing some house cleaning in terms of ridding my life of things I just really don't want to do anymore. If it isn't something I have to do and I don't want to do it, I'm probably going to choose not to. And I'm no longer very bothered by whether that fits the agenda of other people or not. I'm loving this podcast. I'm loving my new menopause clinic. I'm loving the nutrition coaching. I'm loving writing creative content for social media and for handouts and resources that I give away. I'm loving connecting with Suzanne. I'm loving connecting with all of the like-minded women opting to thrive out there. That means you, through my work in the clinic, through the podcast, through the coaching, and through social media. So I am well and truly living into my values, and it feels amazing. I highly recommend it. If you're interested in doing some of this exploration into your own values, I'll pop a link in the show notes, and I'd encourage you to check it out. I hope you've enjoyed this Manage Your Mind mindful moment. And if you have, and you can think of someone else who might enjoy it, please pass it on. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast to make it more visible to those who might get something out of it too. Have a great week, everyone. And until then, I hope you opt to thrive.
The Opt to Thrive podcast is designed for information purposes only and is not engaged in the giving of medical advice. The information provided on the podcast should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease. In no way should the information provided by Opt to Thrive be considered medical advice, and at all times the advice of a medical professional should supersede recommendations from Opt to Thrive. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The views expressed in this podcast are purely that of Dr. Sims and do not in any way reflect those of the institutions she contracts for medical services to.
Thank you for listening to Opt to Thrive. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate and share the podcast. You can visit our website at opttothrive.com and leave a comment for any subjects you would like to hear more about.